When Hurricane Harvey hit Houston and the surrounding areas, the local resources became overwhelmed.
By the time Hurricane Harvey hit, I was only in the Coast Guard for 6 months as a port state control officer.
This is Lieutenant Junior Grade James Gardner at Brazoria County.
I had to completely change roles over to a liaison.
So what's their location?
It was chaos. We were starting to take 911 calls.
It was definitely stressful, but you're focused on supporting the mission and making sure that it's getting done.
It was over 1,000 calls that we had.
Lieutenant Brad Bryan, U.S. Coast Guard. There were 33 children in desperate need of dialysis.
So this was a very serious case.
Where are you located?
If we didn't get to them, if they didn't get treatment within a day or 2 days, they would become what's called toxic, and they could go into cardiac arrest.
It was a life and death situation for some of these children.
They were spread all over the greater Houston area.
What assets do we have to get these 3 individuals?
It was a big challenge. It was a puzzle.
Right now it looks like we're gonna have to do a helicopter because everything's completely inundated.
There were a lot of difficulties and there were a lot of challenges because a lot of these children were surrounded by just moats of water. And not only that, the hospital itself was surrounded by floodwaters. And so it was difficult to get to the children, and it was difficult to get the children to the hospital.
We had to use a combination of helicopters, small boats, and high water rescue vehicles.
It became mission impossible. And it wasn't just the Coast Guard. It was the State Emergency Operations Center. It was the Air Force. It was Texas Task Force 1. It was local responders all across Houston, different places, different addresses, 33 individual missions.
The storm was a complete disaster, but to see the camaraderie and see people come together.
A lot of the parents would call me and they would tell me that their children were getting sick, and within hours, some of these children risked dying.
The desperation in their voice. Your heart is just breaking for these families, and oftentimes when we'd get off the phone, I'd kind of have to step away and take a breath before I could make another phone call.
But all 33 of them made it in the course of 2 days.
The best reward for me is that after the hurricane ended and things settled down, we got to go to the hospital.
It was a very emotional experience, but you got to put a face to the name.
I'm not gonna stop. every time he says do it again, I'm gonna keep doing it again.
We were blowing bubbles and reading books with them and handing out some small Coast Guard stuff.
It was amazing. And an opportunity I'll never forget, being able to see the impact that you make.
After this whole experience, I actually changed my career path from being a Marine inspector to a flight student. So actually I'm currently in flight training in Pensacola, Florida to become a Coast Guard aviator, so that one day we get calls like this, I can be up in the air and look behind me and hoist up some of these rescues.